Thank you for joining me again on the program. I'm joined by a respected Associate Professor of Accounting and Taxation at the University of Benin, Dr. Fiafo Eya. Many thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
It's a wonderful way to have you back here in our studio, having taken some time off, really. Incidentally, we're just going to be looking at issues that border on taxation. But more particularly, we just want to do an assessment of the VAIDS, the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme of the federal government. I think, to the best of our knowledge, at least in the recent history, this is the first time we're having an initiative like this. However, it will appear the everyday Nigerian does not understand what it means and how eventually it benefits the country and himself. So what exactly should we be knowing about this initiative?
Okay, I'll give you some background. You know, Nigeria, as it is today, tax as a fiscal policy tool is one area we have not managed very well.
Wow.
And so the government attention is now focused on this area. And of course, as you know, the tax to GDP ratio is very low in Nigeria.
Very, very.
It's about 6%. Whereas a country like Nigeria average of more than 50%. So if we are 6, we are very low. And then you know that the IMF said we are spending 66% of our revenue on servicing our debts.
Is that good news?
So it's not a good news. So that is why the federal government is doing a rethink and bringing out scheme to improve the tax GDP ratio and ensure that, yes, we have more revenue so that these various indices can improve. So that is why the VAIDS, Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme, it is meant, as far as it is, to ensure that, yes, more persons come into the tax net, to ensure that those income and assets in which Nigerians and other non-resident citizens are not paying tax on before now. They are not disclosing those assets, they are not disclosing those income. They now regularize and bring them to the tax net. And ultimately, the number of persons that will come into the tax net increases, and then the revenue of government increases, and then the illicit funds, the illegal funds that has been transferred out, we are able to get some back and they regularize, and then of course Nigeria now own them. So that is the objective of the scheme, to ensure that, yes, more revenue comes to the revenue net of government and more persons are now captured to pay tax.
This appears like a Herculean task. The federal government has made it abundantly clear that this initiative will be implemented by the Federal Land Revenue Service in collaboration with all the 36 internal revenue services across the country. How demanding will it be to implement this? Because don't forget, you're also working with a time frame, because this is something that's going to run, I mean, it's already running, starting from July 1 all the way till March of next year. Do you see this as something feasible in the light of the time frame?
Yeah, you see, it's a time-limited opportunity given to government, because this thing cannot continue forever. It started in July. It will end in March next year. That's a period of 9 months.
Right.
Remember, majorly, the VAIDS is not targeted at just the entire population. It is mainly the high net worth individual and then some companies that are operating in Nigeria. That is the target, because it has been done in so many other countries and it has helped to show up their revenue base. And so the government decided to get involved and introduce the scheme. So it is possible that, yes, it's like they say, one is an opportunity that you have been avoiding tax or you have been evading tax, regularize it, bring this income in. And so they have given you 4 areas that you escape. One, you will not pay interest, you will not pay penalty if you declare this income and asset. Then, of course, you will not be investigated, and then you will not be prosecuted. IP. No interest, no penalty, no prosecution, and no investigation. So when you do this within this time frame, of course, you avoid these 4 issues. Because when they begin to talk of interest, you pay interest at 21%, you pay penalty at 10%, you be executed, and then about 5 years imprisonment. So it's an opportunity, which I believe that, yes, every Nigeria, if we embrace it, within this period, we can come in, and then you can regularize your income, and of course your assets.
Now, we can't turn back the hands of time, but again, we cannot pretend not to be able to identify how we got it wrong or what exactly we got wrong that brought us to where we are today. Even the IMF, as you rightly alluded, had also said that we had been kind of lax as a country over issues of taxation. Is this, granted that the window is for 9 months, but what happens after a 9-month period, for instance? How do we push it beyond that point to ensure that you have these people stay within the tax net of the government?
Okay, look at it. We can, these things are not too far from what we are also practicing today. If now, Edo State government have said, go and pay for regularize your vehicle particulars.
Right.
If people start, if they have given about 5 days, if people start coming and they see queue, of course, nobody will tell them not to extend the time.
Sure.
So the government, many of these people are already in the tax net, but they are not disclosing some income and some assets.
Right.
So you are now saying, oh, bring those income in. You see, taxation is based on 3 approaches. We talk of nationality. Some country may state as tax law that if you are a citizen of this country, you must pay tax to this country.
Right.
Some will talk of residence, where you live. And then some will now talk of where your source of income comes from. So all these are what the government is trying to say, that there are some companies operating here in Nigeria, and of course they own property abroad, and then bring those things in, because there is a capital gain tax, there is personal income tax, there is capital company income tax, there is personal income tax, and petroleum profit tax, and stamp duty, and so many others. So it is possible that, yes, if people start coming and then they see that, oh, the time is not enough, they may extend it. But for fear of prosecution thereafter, because they have employed a consultant to track this asset. You see, this model is based on what we call MAT.
Okay.
You understand? Because there is now an agreement among the tax authorities of the world to exchange ideas and, of course, information. So, if now all the information, you know, with Nigeria, the world has become a global village.
That's true.
And so, a company has been appointed now to track all these assets. So, knowing that you may be prosecuted after the expiration of the 9 months, we expect that Nigerians will take advantage of this opportunity. 9 months is a long time.
It is.
And then, of course, like I said, you don't have interest to pay if you declare your income now. You don't have penalty to pay. You will not be prosecuted and you will not be investigated. So you should take advantage of it. 9 months is a long time, because apart from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, you have all the states' internal revenue service. So if you are in Benin and you live in Benin and you are not, you can go to your state internal revenue service. Of course, like I said, government is not a cast and stone thing. Everything is dynamic. So if they see people coming up and there's reason to extend, there's extension. Because the world is not talking of amnesty. Amnesty.
So that should also rub off on the taxation.
It's talking about taxation. Amnesty, because even in the Bible is there. God has said, come if you have gone astray. Okay. And he will bring you in. That's what the tax jurisdiction also saying. If you have offended God and you pray for leniency and confesses your sin, of course you are forgiven. So that's what they are saying. Confess your sin and you will be forgiven.
So go back and sin no more.
Go back and sin no more.
Right.
And then, of course, for all you have done, they have said they will not charge you.
Give you a slap on the wrist.
It's an open thing, and I think it's what Nigerians should embrace.
Economists have also talked about, of course, we know that there are companies in Nigeria that are not Nigerian. Now, economists are concerned, generally, they're concerned that there is illegal capital repatriation. How do you make sure you also rein that in light of this VAIDS initiative?
That is the illicit, what they call illicit fund flow that we are talking about, legal fund flow. Normally, you don't repatriate your money away.
There's a process for that.
There's a process for that. So, but some of them are doing it illegally. And that is what the government wants to ensure that leakages is blocked.
Okay.
Like I don't know how we got into this, but really, if they are up and doing at that CBN level and the commercial banks, I think no money. I attended a conference where the Walter Carrington, the former U.S. ambassador to Nigeria,
yes,
once said that it's not that they don't steal in America, but the money doesn't leave America.
So it stays within the country.
It stays within the country. It's just a change from public to private hand, for example. But it remains within the system, and then you begin to use it within the system. So with this, repatriate all those income, bring those income back, pay tax on them, and then we know our own GDP, and then of course the leakages over time, they will be able to block further leakages. You understand? I think the CBN will put
some shipping agents are concerned. Now, yesterday it made the news how that this shipping agent said that the federal government has not made it clear. I mean, the terms of this VAIDS. In other words, they need more enlightenment about it. Is it that the initiative is ambiguous in itself, or what?
No, like you said, you see, enlightenment, you have to create awareness. And of course, they are doing it with flyers. They are doing some jingles on television. But maybe they need to do more. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, the State Internal Revenue Service need to do more. Right. Of course, they need to also consult some tax practitioners to tell them how to do it. It cannot be perfect, but over time it will improve. And of course, if you have done it, you tell your friends who you know is also keeping our money aside to come and do it. But the states and the Federal Inland Revenue Service, they own a duty to tell Nigerians and non-resident companies of what to do. Okay. And of course, the time is still there. They can, in fact, you see, when they visit the foreign land, when the president go, when the vice president go, they should tell our people in diaspora. You know, understand? Of course, when they do meetings there.
Obviously.
Nigeria, to trace with internet now and with improvement in technology, embassies knows the Nigerians who are living in various countries. So you gather them, you send them emails to this is the new scheme. The government is not even now they started. It started with self-assessment scheme. Okay. Jonathan started it during his time. Before Jonathan, no president was paying tax in Nigeria, no governor was paying tax. No vice president was paying tax, no deputy governor was paying tax.
In this country?
Yes, in this country.
And they were paid by government?
They were paid by government. Jonathan said, no. If I must use the people's money, I must be the first contributor to the tax revenue.
And show example.
So he brought himself and these people that were excluded into the tax revenue. So it was there. And then they changed the government assessment to self-assessment. That you can now walk into the Internal Revenue Service, declare your income, pay your tax. It is after you are paid, they now say, oh, this 10 naira you paid or 100 naira you paid, oh, we have investigated, it's not too much, pay the balance. So there are so many other schemes. They are improving on it. But this one I said, it's meant really for those that high net worth person, because when people are paying tax, they just going to pay 1 million. Whereas they would have paid up to 100 million. Given
the peculiarity of our tax system in this country and the economic uniqueness, as it were, that we have, is it ideal to be talking about tax return?
Tax return?
Yeah, exactly, in a country like this.
How? Why not? Why not?
Because I had this conversation with somebody who's also in the field of taxation. He said Nigeria is very economically challenged, and as such, we shouldn't be talking about tax return. That at best, what government can do is to give some sort of tax break, maybe some sort of moratorium to new companies, maybe a year or two, maximum 3 years, so they can get their foot on the ground, and then things begin to look up for them.
That policy has been there since 1967.
Okay.
Income tax, what they call a pioneer industry. Income tax relief act. Because if you now come to a virgin industry,
yes,
there are two conditions. One condition is if that industry is not producing enough, if there are no persons there, so and you want to come in, they give you tax holiday. They still there. Even recently, they gave so many companies tax holiday. So if you belong to that group, the government, you apply. You understand? You apply and they give you tax holiday. It's still very much in Nigeria. It has been there since 1967. Income tax Relief Act. It has been there. So it's not a new thing. And of course, recently, if you, I think about a month ago, they expanded it to allow so many industry get such a holiday. But at the end of the day, you see, you must show social, we call it social contract.
Right.
If you belong to an association, you pay subscription. Tax is almost like subscription. That shows that you are a member, you are a citizen of Nigeria, and you earn income because in the section 24 of the Nigeria Constitution, section 24, it said if you are an income earner, you should pay tax on such income. So the subsidiary legislation and the constitution, when they are in conflict, the constitution overrides. So you must pay. But the subsidiary legislation is saying if you have a proof, oh, I need so much income to come into this thing, it's not easy to come in. Like when these people came in, Econet and MTN, they were exempted.
They had pioneer status.
They had pioneer status.
Let's look at this issue here, because this conversation will probably not sit in my head if we don't talk about this. Double taxation. What really is double taxation? Because every day, I mean literally every day, here Nigerians talk about being double taxed.
They don't understand the concept. You understand? There's multiple taxation, there's double taxation.
Let's track a difference then.
Okay, multiple taxation is when you tax an income, or an income is being taxed by 2 or more different tax authorities.
Okay.
An income.
Multiple.
But in double taxation, tax jurisdiction, you are talking of another country taxing income from this country.
Okay.
You understand? And I told you, that's why I told you the approach is just now. Have you understood the concept?
So clear. Very
now, clear. The approach is, if you look at the tax law, some base it on nationality. Some base their tax law on residence, where you stay.
Right.
And some base it on the source of income. So you see that this thing will definitely lead to one jurisdiction, one nation fighting for the same income with you, with this nation.
Sounds like a tug of war.
And it's a tug of war. So that is double taxation.
Okay.
But the United Nations has also brought what we call double taxation relief, double taxation treaty, and double taxation agreements.
Are those instruments enforced?
They are enforced. If now I live in Nigeria and I bring income from another country and I have paid some amount there, do you understand me? When I bring that income to Nigeria, I now pay half the rate of tax. So it's being taken care of. You see, double taxation has been there for so long a time, and the United Nations came into it. And then they have done, through this mutual agreement and administrative assistance on tax, they have done it in a way that, yes, if you live, for example, I live in Nigeria, and I do business abroad, but I live in Nigeria. Of course, the country where I transact my business, they will definitely tax that income.
Naturally.
But I live in Nigeria, I enjoy the services. My family is here.
Yeah.
So I should also pay to Nigeria government. And when you show records that you are paid there, they now charge you only 50% on such income that is coming from abroad. So the double taxation has been taken care of through agreement, relief, and other treaty that exists.
You are an erudite academic. You've spent several years researching and teaching taxation. We've heard about tax fraud. How much of such instances do we have in this country?
You see, tax fraud, well, I want to look at it from what they call tax avoidance and tax evasion.
Right.
Tax avoidance and tax evasion. If you are talking of the tax administrator stealing money, well, that one is common, it's everywhere. So I don't want to go into that.
So you can go to bed with 2 eyes closed over that one?
No, you cannot be. The administrator should be able to, if I'm I'm head of the Federal Revenue Service, I know how to control it so that the money will not leak.
Okay.
You know? But when you talk of tax avoidance, like a judge once said, if he has a way to dodge payment of tax, he will do so. Even these people, you see those state government now, they are making sure that people pay their
tax
for their licenses.
Licenses, yes.
find out how many of those policemen, how many of the tax administrators have up-to-date license for their district. So everybody is engaged in tax avoidance.
One way or another.
One way or the other, to reduce your tax liability. But the one that is very bad and that is criminal is what we call tax evasion.
Okay.
Where you completely remove a part of your income and not pay tax on it. That is a big one that is criminal, and I know it's up to 5 years if you are caught, and you go in for it. So as much as possible, it's in every system.
Value-added tax. We hear we are doing 5% as a country. And there have been clamors that we should jack it up a little. I think at the point, we even heard news of how that there had been recommendation that we should do an upward review of our VAT to about 10%. And then it was becoming an issue, part of the conversation, when we approached the IMF for financial instruments sometime in 2016. What's wrong if we left it at 5%? I mean the VAT.
There's what we call, you see, tax is now, we now talk of tax competition.
Oh, there's competition too.
There's competition between and among countries. Because there's even some countries that don't even tax. People want to take their investment to such country, tax haven. So coming to your VAT issue, VAT was introduced, and even when Obasanjo was leaving, he tried to increase it because it's easy to manage, can be easily managed, and evasion is quite reduced. Reduced, I didn't say it's eliminated, it's reduced. So because of that, people feel that is the way we can get money from the people easily. And so Obasanjo even increased it, but people protested. He increased it to 7.5. People protested, it was brought back to 5%. But if you go to Ghana, you pay more for VAT. If you go to Cotonou, you pay more for VAT. And that is why the competition we are talking about. So people will prefer to move this thing, normally to move to Nigeria. But the problem with Nigeria is that the infrastructure is not much on ground. So industries are not...
they're reluctant.
They are reluctant to come in. So like I wrote a paper. I delivered a paper in Owerri, and I recommended that we are not... It's not the increase. Let them administer VAT as it is now. They will get more than 100% of what they are getting.
So rather than increase, what are we supposed to be doing about
they
that?
They should do registration, then do remittance. Some people collect VAT from their customers. They don't remit it.
And that's a problem.
That is a problem. I have, I know some bakery or some supermarket, they collect this money. But they don't remit it to government.
There was some transport companies.
So that's what we are saying. Government should try. Maybe they need more hands. They need more experts. So they try to administer it in a way that it will yield more revenue. It's not the increase now. When those people that are supposed to be in the net are paying, or they are deducting from their customer and is being remitted, you see that what they are getting now will be ×2.
I wasn't expecting you to mention it, but of course you did. The issue of tax haven. Last year, there was a leak. There was a hashtag Panama Papers somewhere in Central America. The impression we had then was that it was criminal for you to invest in tax havens. Of course, we know a few Nigerians who also had investment there. And the immediate past Prime Minister of Britain also said that his father had invested in Panama. Is it criminal, really, to invest in a tax haven? Because that was the impression that the media made us have then.
It's not criminal. But what is criminal is the source of funds that you take there. You understand? Most funds that go there, they are illegal funds.
Okay.
Most, not all. Or let me say some. Some of the funds that you find in such country are illicit funds. And that is what the public or the press is trying to blow out. Otherwise, if, like I said, there is tax competition, even between between these 3 local governments that we have in Benin Metropolis, one can be charging 5,000 naira tournament rate, the other can be charging 2,000 naira, the other one can be charging 3,000 naira, and people can now move to the one that is charging 2,000 naira. But what we did now look at, how much facility is this at this local government bringing in?
Right.
You understand? So that is it with Star 7. What people are finding out is the illicit fund that goes to this country.
So is the source they are concerned about?
It's the source they are concerned about. It's not why did you come to invest in this country. No, nobody will tell you why you came to invest. Nobody will say it because it's a profit making, it's a profit maximizing businessman. Businessman is trying to make more money.
Right.
And if I go there, I make more money. Of course, that is it. But through this VAIDS, that money you have invested there will be traced. While you pay tax, small tax there, or you don't pay tax there, you must bring it to Nigeria. Is that not? If I take money there and go and invest, I don't live there, but I live in Nigeria, that income I'm getting comes back. It should be reported. That is what is coming. They are saying regularize those income you didn't disclose in the past years.
Let's know what it is.
Let's know what it is. Disclose those assets you have there and you are selling. You are selling every day. You have houses. You sell. You sold. There's capital gain tax you must pay to Nigeria. Come and declare it. That's what we are saying.
I'm glad. Obviously, you brought us back to the VAIDS. No doubts in my mind at all that you've studied the whole material. But again, let's look at what will happen ultimately with this. I have a feeling you have some concerns yourself. What are some concerns you have about the VAIDS really, with regards to maybe some lapses that should have been addressed earlier on, and so on and so forth? Do you have any?
You see, my problem, and I've always said it in so many fora, that there must be registration first. We don't have. You can see in what they call it, in Benin City. Edo State government doesn't know the number of cars and the owners of the cars we have in Benin City.
So we are records deficient.
Well, we are very deficient. It's just for you to do normal registration. Forget about payment first. Do registration. And when what they call the license is due, call, send a message. Your license is going to expire a month's time. Please come and pay. Of course, when there was election, the governor, the present governor now, they were sending messages, text messages to voters. What is wrong in sending text messages to vehicle owners?
So in a nutshell, you're saying that records or data and
database, that is the beginning of tax administration. Otherwise, we'll be doing contribution. You are not doing taxation. Taxation must begin with registration of eligible taxpayer. If you don't have that records, that database, you are not doing taxation. And that is the problem I may see I'm envisaging with this thing. But for the international income, they may be able to trace those ones.
Okay.
They may be able to trace those ones because there is a consultant, is good in tracing assets, and is good in tracing income. So they have already gotten that. You know, all these things, he must have also know what will come to him before they approach the government, and the government bought into it, because they are saying in India, we were able to recover trillions or billions of dollars. In so many other countries where this has happened, we were able to recover so much. So for me, we need to do much more as per registration. One paper, I expected to see even the what they call the Edo State Internal Revenue people having POS.
Yes. So people can swipe.
People, you just put your something. Oh, what is your name? You Google, you tap into it. The name comes out, or the person can pay, because if people don't want to go to the bank and stay, people don't want to go to the office. But if you apprehend anybody there and say your money is 12,000, the guy can bring out his ATM and
pay on the spot.
And then you give me a small distance. Okay, go to so and so office and collect your papers the next day. So make things easier. So what I am saying is that we need to do registration
and automate the system.
Automate the system. It may cost you much, because in Europe it's about registration, automation. It may cost this government, if it wants to do it. I know the present governor is very, he is very committed to the development of the state, and he wants to put this right. He can consult people. The vehicles in it, and we call it about catalyzation. The Nigeria Union of Road Transport Workers, the Road Transport Owners Association, the Bike Owners Association, the Tricycle Owners Association can help them do this. Even ASU can help them.
It's a lot of work, but what you're saying is it is worth the trouble.
It's worth
and
the trouble. It
investment.
will pay off at the end of the day.
I think that's an excellent way to wrap it up on the discussion. Many thanks for coming to the program.
welcome.
We appreciate it. I've been talking with a man who's grounded in the field of accounting and taxation here at the University of Benin, Associate Professor Ofiafo Eya. Thanks again for coming. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Great. That will be our program for this week. Blessing H.A. and myself will be back here next week, Friday, so we can get talking business again. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe. You're watching ITV.